fear and horror are an appropriate response.
There is no other reason to be given why you have not gone to hell.
I think he should apologise.
O sinner! You hang by a slender thread with the flames of divine wrath flashing about it, ready every moment to singe it. Nothing that you can do to induce God to spare you one moment.
Which I know very well, so I've lived in London most of my grown-up life.
And I think he just continues to incite hatred and prejudice.
Consider the fearful danger you are in.
This is a journey into a lunatic asylum.
Princess Margaret's 21st birthday was a welcome diversion and was celebrated warmly by the British people and the emerging Commonwealth. The nation.
Born into a world of changing values, Princess Margaret takes daily a greater share of the burdens we load on the royal family.
Okay, so my son was 19 when he was murdered. He was stabbed almost 20 times on the estate that he grew up in. Prior to his murder, I'd tried to inform the police because there was an ongoing problem with him and some of his ex-friends.
So I lost my son in November 2017. He was 18 years old, he was stabbed 8 times.
My only son, he was 18 years old and he got stabbed on his way back from watching West Ham, his team.
Even as much as this Friday we had a boy left my classroom stabbed 9 times on the way home. That's this Friday. And we're having this quite routinely now in a quite shocking way. But I think the issue with this war thing is that the boys aren't soldiers. They are children. They like to see themselves. They like to see themselves as soldiers, and certain aspects of a right-wing media would like to see them as soldiers as well, because it helps, you know, push their agenda.
How do you feel about stop and search?
I think it's a must. My son was an 18-year-old boy. He got stopped constantly on the street. And he used to come home and he used to say, "Mum, why am I getting stopped?" I said, "Don't worry about it, son. You've got nothing to hide. Let the police do their job." And he didn't. He never had to go. He didn't have to go out with knives. And they stopped and searched him constantly, but it has to happen.
My son Michael Jonas was stabbed and killed. But there's a lot of stuff happening around us that people don't even seem to realize. It's very rare a rich person child is being stabbed. It's mostly poor people.
Because they didn't feel safe and they didn't trust authorities to keep them safe. And recently I was walking through there and I saw somebody get shot with my own 2 eyes.
I've got a gun in my waist, I'm going to shoot up the place.
And
you saw someone get shot?
I saw someone get shot and...
I've got a gun in my waist, I'm going to shoot up the place.
It really made me think, like, oh my God, what is happening? London is turning into something else, something that I am becoming afraid of.
It's quite clear that whilst there might be some progress and there are TV shows about it and we're here today, it doesn't feel like it's anywhere near enough. I don't feel like anything is being done. It feels like there is a civil war running in the streets, but there is not enough intervention, not enough prevention, not enough deterrence.
Get into a pair of Guards trousers from 84 shillings.
Moments later, the argument turned violent. In images shown to the jury but too graphic to be released publicly, the victim is seen being stabbed 18 times in just 25 seconds.
What happens next is deeply disturbing. The cyclist attacks the car with a foot-long knife.
Hello, Maybelline, my love. It's Oliver here. Listen, my darling, do we carry a tea machine?
Sorry, dear.
Yes, I thought not. Many thanks, pet. Sorry, Peter, no tea on mine.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Doesn't worry.
The Conservative MP, Sir David Amess, has been stabbed to death while conducting a constituency surgery in Essex.
The bigger boys have little else to do but fight and wrestle or throw a ball around, but that doesn't make them very popular.
Kids killing kids is absolutely appalling to me, and it's so sad because she was only 12 and it just shocks the everyone, doesn't it? It just shocks everyone about how it can happen, and they're so young, and it's in our community as well. And like, I'm scared to let my daughters go out on their own because you just hear of horror stories all the time.
The 24-year-old had been seen singing, dancing and smiling in a Brighton nightclub. Billy was viciously beaten unconscious before being thrown over a balcony on January the 1st, 2020. He suffered 67 separate injuries in the attack. His attackers then stripped his body naked and cleaned him with disinfectant in a desperate attempt to cover their tracks and destroy any forensic evidence linking them to the crime. His injuries included 11 rib fractures to both sides of his body, extensive bruising to his scalp, face and neck, a deep cut to his forehead and a brain injury. Was then dropped over a balcony railing from a height of just under 11 foot.
For anyone who didn't know, there was supposed to be a trial in regards to the shooting of Black Lives Matter activist Sasha Johnson on the 7th of March 2022, but surprisingly the Crown Prosecution Service dropped the charges against the alleged four involved, and the whole situation was quashed.
But sadly, if we don't discuss these issues, nothing will ever get resolved, and it just continues happening again and again and again. And this is a prime example. Only the other day I was at the crime scene in Birmingham where a 13-year-old was shot in the back and potentially may never walk again.
15 years old. Stabbed to death in this park in Croydon last night.
Returning now to our breaking news story out of the UK that we were reporting on earlier, in the Conservative MP David Amess being stabbed multiple times. Let's bring in Nadeem Baba in London. Nadeem, what do we know happened?
And now we have heard from the police that they have arrested one man and they are not looking for anybody else.
A man had stabbed him multiple times in front of his assistant and his PA. He died at the scene, leaving constituents and party colleagues bewildered and in shock.
What can I say? Yeah, he was so nice person, loves everyone, and he was doing so brilliant job for all the local residents and everyone. Yeah.
Police search an area of West London Parkland on the final day of what's become the bloodiest year for teen killings in the capital.
Mr. Henham had spent Christmas with his family but wanted to see in the new year in a lively atmosphere, the court heard. He was dropped off in Brighton by his dad at around 7:30 p.m. and that court was told that the last sighting of Mr. Henham had been captured on CCTV at around 4:30 in the morning on New Year's Day outside the All Sorts off licence. Mr. Henham would be dead just a few hours later. Subsequent tests showed that although he had been drinking, there was no evidence of drug taking.
And today in Liverpool, a 12-year-old girl called Ava White has been stabbed to death in the city centre. Police were called at 8:39 to Church Street in the city centre on Thursday, November the 26th, following reports of an assault. There's not even a month to go before Christmas, and everybody was in the city centre turning on the Christmas lights. And sadly, this occurred several hours after. Police believe Ava was with her friends when a verbal argument began and the 12-year-old was assaulted and she suffered catastrophic injuries. When police arrived, they found Ava on the ground and a member of the public witnessed the incident and was giving first aid and desperately tried to save her. It's understood that several people tried to assist while the girl was on the floor.
And you go home, get your hair cut. Go on, get home. Get your hair cut. And a bow.
Because you ain't got nowhere to play. We ain't got nowhere to play. We play football out here. Right. The famous things. And then all the old bags open the window. We can't play football, can you see? Because it's over the phone coming or it's the caretaker.
Officers continue to hunt for clues, searching here in Useley in West London where this 16-year-old boy was killed, and more than 20 miles away in Croydon where just moments before a 15-year-old also lost their life.
I have children the same age, children that knew this young person, and for me, I'm nearly 50 and I have never been to a funeral of somebody I went to school with. And here is my child in 6 months in her school, death of 2 of her classmates.
The police have had a hard time investigating the case though because of the wall of silence that's came with it, but the family and police have urged anyone with information to come forward, even if it's anonymously. Any information can help. The family have released this picture of Sasha lying in hospital to show the gravity of the situation at hand.
And more recently as well in Liverpool, a 15-year-old boy took himself to hospital after being stabbed at around 5 p.m. on Halloween. He had been stabbed multiple times near a car park in Sefton.
We know that 4 teenage boys aged between 13 and 15 from Toxteth have been arrested on suspicion of her murder. There's still a massive police presence here.
These men, although becoming more and more detached from the reality of their environment, are still capable. However, their response is for limited periods only, after which they again become indecisive and lethargic in their movements.
We made it clear at the time of the incident that we did not believe there was any immediate further threat to anyone else in the area.
When you heard the case against these 4 men had collapsed and there would be no criminal trial, what went through your mind?
We wasn't shocked, as I said, no, or surprised. And one of the only things that's kept us going is our faith. We were hurt, but we had to pull ourselves together because breaking down is not it. And we learned that it's not over. You know, this is a bump in the road.
Are you confident you will get justice eventually?
Yes, we will. We will get justice, and Sasha will come and let us get justice.
So people are seeing it everywhere. They go, a lot of police officers around, forensic officers searching throughout this area throughout the day today. Meanwhile, 4 boys aged between 13 and 15 are being questioned on suspicion of murder and are still being interviewed.
Sir, how may we help you?
Well, this is a police station, isn't it?
Well, of course it is, Petey, yes.
Yes, because I tried to ring you earlier, but you must have changed your number. All I got was music playing in my ear. The thing is, my car's been stolen.
Your car's been stolen?
Yes.
Oh, Peter, I am sorry. Oh. And you'd like us to do something about it?
Well, yes, please.
OK. Well, have you had a look at our brochure, Peter, if you'll pardon the pun?
What pun?
Wasn't there one? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Peter, if you'd like to...
In London, 28 teenagers have been killed so far this year, and the death toll is nearing the record of 29 teenagers killed in 2008. Homicides among 16 to 24-year-olds in England and Wales have soared by 60% in the last 5 years. And of course, Liverpool has had cases like this before, with the example of Rhys Jones, who was shot dead when he got caught in the crossfire of gang violence.
Parents, if you see a bread knife or a bun knife missing from the home, please speak to somebody.
This isn't about statistics, it's about life. 30 teenage lives and their families they've left behind.
The same way that they could accuse us of black on black crime when they create the social culture that allows that behaviour. We need to stand with each other. We need to love each other. Lay it down, let's go.
13-year-old Ollie Stevens strolls to a park in Reading to meet a girl on a Sunday afternoon. 13 minutes later, he'd be dead, suffering fatal wounds to his chest and back, all over a row on social media. The 2 boys were sentenced to 13 and 12 years respectively. The girl who set the trap was sentenced to 3 years and 2 months.
No, but in the swing, if we play near a car, we get told we just move near a car, right? And they'll go, get away from our son's car!
The weapon used here is known as a zombie knife. It has a long serrated blade and is increasingly popular on Britain's inner city streets.
The porters out there, you can't play ball, you can't do this. Then there's the neighbours complaining about the children, telling them to so-and-so off. They're getting swore at, or some of the children get swore at by the people in the flat. But don't you think you call me dirty, you'll get smacked in the big Nero.
This is what democracy looks like!
There is a real lot of misinformation going on about police officers killing black people in custody. Last year, 16 people died for various reasons in police custody, generally drug overdoses. Of those 16, only one was black. Last year, police shot 3 people dead. Only one of those were black. There is a real narrative that's going on here, I think driven by people within the Black Lives Matter movement who want to destabilise and disrupt society.
OK,
So
we're going to
I would
have to
be
leave it
very-
there. Thank you very much indeed. This is Sky News Today. Coming up next.
The designers of this £2,500 bed haven't missed a trick. A late night or early morning cup of tea is right beside you. Other refinements, all controlled from the bed, are the mattress heating units, an intercom telephone to all rooms, an outside line, and of course a portable television set at the foot of the bed.
Do you know what I mean? There's difference to, I've got a gun in my waist, I'm going to shoot up the place, to the guy had a gun in his waist, he shot up the place. It's still the same conviction, but it's just how you say it. And I keep saying to us, we need to take ownership. And every single time we keep pointing fingers. Stop and search your kids before they leave the house. How much of us stopping and searching our kids before they leave the house? Let's not point the fingers at the police and the government, because guess what? They're only dealing with the problem when it actually happens. We know what's going on in the community. How much is after building rapport? How much men are out there? We're not out there as men. We're not out there pulling up our boys saying, yo, big man, what are you doing? Come over here. We're leaving them, letting them walking on. And some of you guys need to take responsibility. You man them as well, young kids. Take ownership. Some of you lot keep sitting there, peer pressure. It wasn't my fault. Stop feeding into the narrative. You are not that.
The nation had watched the royal princesses growing up through the hardship of war. They were both extremely popular.
21 years ago, with Princess Elizabeth a toddler of 4, Margaret was born into disappointment. The nation had prayed for a prince. But as the little princess grew up, we took her to our hearts, as we had done her sister. Her sister became heiress presumptive, and Princess Margaret next in succession. At 16, she made her first public appearance, and from then on, we were to see more of her as she grew up, a young girl coping with the restraint of her high station.
Seeing these young people from where they're at and establishing a solution to work to get them driven forward, because right now all systems and all services have failed young people. Kind of got to put our hands up and admit that we are facing a problem that it's either going to get worse if we don't put things in place now. Forget the whole ethos of money, because money is not the driving force of this problem. It's the community, and we all need to start taking owners, like everybody here is saying.
The problem is that parents are not saying anything. Some are not even checking bags and things like that. And these children are going out and causing hideous crimes.
Europeans went all over the world. Europeans took over continents. All right? Do you remember that? Australia, New Zealand, South America, North America.
From Libya, you come to Syria, to Iraq, to Afghanistan, to Somalia. I mean,
from China all the way to Spain.
The sort of Britain that we want is a Britain where the Sharia is implemented.
How is it that we can now deny just safety?
Whether it be France, whether in other countries, whether in European countries.
so there is a serious political problem.
If you want to change something, you have to be a part of something. You have to get involved, you have to educate yourself on it, and you have to make a change from inside. It's all good and well having opinions saying no one listens, but if you're not there to be listened to, who's going to listen?
During the war, I rested my trust in the British people